Greetings, fellow humans. Katrina here. Quick disclaimer, I am a professional. I'm not your professional. Anything I'm about to say should not be taken as medical, legal, or otherwise advice. This podcast is purely for entertainment and amusement, education if you want. That is it. So with that said, I'll go on to tell you today a bit about what I've heard on sleep suggestions, all right? This comes out of Marsha Linehan's big skill building book. But the suggestions aren't just for folks with borderline personality disorder diagnoses, in my opinion. I think anyone can benefit from trying some of these out, so I thought it would be helpful to share. Now, remember not to add a layer of judgment by making these things that you should do, because they won't all work for everybody. Everybody's different. So with that said, here are some suggestions, not shoulds, for good sleep. The first one says, sleep only as much as you need to feel refreshed during the following day. So restricting your time in bed helps deepen your sleep. Excessively long times in bed can lead to fragmented and shallow sleep. So get up at your regular time the next day, no matter what time you slept. So if you went to bed at 10 o'clock or 12 o'clock, still get up at whatever your wake up time is. Other thing I would add to that is to not use your bed for work or school. That might be on the suggestions list. I haven't read all the way through it for you yet, but if we confuse our body by doing things active in bed, then our body doesn't recognize that it's a place for sleep, a time for sleep. So our brain can still be going even though we're done scrolling on our phone. Second one is get up at the same time each day, 7 days a week. So a regular wake time in the morning leads to regular times of sleep onset, and that really helps set up what's called your biological clock, that whole circadian rhythm thing. I don't know what it's called. Third one is exercise regularly. So schedule exercise times so that they do not occur within 3 hours of when you intend to go to bed. Exercise makes it easier to get to sleep and to sleep deeply. I'm one of the people who I prefer exercising first thing in the morning when I first roll out of bed. Before I even make my coffee, I go get on the yoga mat to make sure to get that time in. Number 4 is make sure your bedroom is comfortable and free from light and noise. Those things can be really distracting, even just the light on the alarm clock. Number 5 is make sure that your bedroom is at a comfortable temperature during the night. I've heard that we sleep better in the cold. I don't know if that's true for everybody, but for a lot of people, having a colder temperature can be really beneficial. Number 6 is eat regular meals and do not go to bed hungry, okay? A light snack at bedtime, especially carbohydrates, may help sleep, but avoid greasy or heavy foods, something that takes a long time to digest. Number 7 is avoid excessive liquids in the evening. I don't know if you've ever had to wake up in the middle of the night just to empty your bladder, but that's not very fun to have to wake up to go do that. So if you avoid liquids in the evening, not entirely, but excessively, then that can help with having to get up in the middle of the night for that reason. Number 8 says, cut down on all caffeine products. That's right, caffeinated beverages and foods, so things like coffee, tea, cola, chocolate, can cause difficulty falling asleep, awakenings during the night, and shallow sleep. So even caffeine early in the day can disrupt nighttime sleep. If you're having difficulty sleeping, try to cut that drug out altogether. And I do say drug because caffeine is a drug, and it is not something that is recommended to consume in excess. And if you have a lot of anxiety, you might not consume caffeine at all. Number 9 says avoid alcohol, especially in the evening. Now, alcohol is one of those drugs that I say maybe just avoid it all the time if you can, because it's just a poison. But if you do like alcohol, and alcohol in moderation, they say nothing is wrong with that. So just watch out for those evening nightcaps, because alcohol can disrupt our sleep pattern. Even though some people say that alcohol puts them to sleep, you're not getting restful sleep. Number 10 says smoking. Smoking may disturb sleep. Nicotine is actually a stimulant. So try not to smoke during the night when you're having trouble falling asleep. Is not the time to go outside and chain smoke. That's just going to keep you up longer. Number 11 says don't take your problems to bed. Plan some time earlier in the evening for working on your problems or planning the next day's activities. Worrying may interfere with initiating sleep and produce a shallow sleep. So a shallow sleep to me sounds like you're not getting the REM sleep. And the REM sleep is really where we revitalize and rejuvenate and all that good stuff. Number 12 says, train yourself to use the bedroom only for sleeping. Okay, this was what I mentioned earlier. So this will help condition your brain to see bed as the place for sleeping, not to read or watch TV or eat or be on a Zoom meeting for work. That's not what the bed is for. So if you can, even if you have to stay in your room, if leaving the bedroom isn't an option, maybe you're in a dorm room or something, have a separate seat for the day. So whether that's just a little chair or whatever, so that you're not in bed doing activities. Number 13 is do not try to fall asleep. This only makes the problem worse. Instead, turn on the light, leave the bedroom, and do something different like reading a book. Screens are not recommended. Don't engage in stimulating activity. Then return to bed only when you are sleepy. So when you feel like you're going to fall asleep, that's when to go back to bed, not when you decide to try to go back to sleep, because that can sometimes increase our own internal distress. Go to sleep, count sheep, go to sleep. That's not helpful. And then you just wind up ruminating instead of sleeping. So I'll reiterate that one. Do not try to fall asleep. Just let your body sleep when it needs to. Number 14, put the clock under the bed or turn it so that you can't see it. Clock watching may lead to frustration, anger, and worry, all of which can interfere with sleep. And I would add cell phones to that as well. If you're checking your cell phone every hour when you're trying to get some sleep, that's just disrupting your sleep even more, because now you're turning on the light, you've got that backlight. They say that that's not good for the eyes or whatever. That's why they recommend like blue light glasses. They being the, I don't know, powers that be. I've just heard that blue light glasses or protecting yourself from the harsh light of the electronics is helpful in getting a little bit more sleep. Lastly, avoid naps. Oh, that must sound frustrating if you like a nice siesta in the middle of the afternoon, but staying awake during the day can help us fall asleep at night. Now, like I said, these are suggestions, not shoulds. They're not rules. They're not things that are definitely going to work for you. They're not definitely things that work for everybody. But I'll use the nap one as an example. So some people actually do what's called intermittent sleeping, where you might have 4 or 5 hours in the nighttime, and then you might have a 2 to 3 hour nap in the afternoon. Adjust hours, however. That's not wrong or weird or bad or anything. It's just different. And so everybody's bodies operate in different ways. And these suggestions are just some ways that seem to work for some people. So if you haven't done those things, you might try them out and see how it feels, see what you think. So today I told y'all a few suggestions for sleep and reminded you that they're not shoulds, but ideas that you might want to try. So now we'll move on to the news. Not today's news. No. A century old. So this news actually comes to you from the Washington Times on January 14th, 1922. Now, because I'm recording this later than I intended, I didn't read through the entire 18-page paper this time. I just kind of glanced at the front page, and the two articles that really stood out to me, I want to share with you all. So this was on page 1 of the Washington Times, and I thought it was great. It said, shorter hose and skirts for Northwest co-eds. They are taking the advice of Dr. Mary Gilworth McEwen, who said in an address, don't wear corsets, keep your skirts short, roll your stockings, wear wool and galoshes. And then it goes on to point out that the men students approved unanimously. I thought that was an interesting shift from last week's, where I read something shaming regarding women. This seems much more empowering. Also on page 1, this is a little more international. Southern Parliament accepts treaty, sets up provisional regime. It reads, the Southern Ireland Parliament today ratified the Irish Peace Treaty. I thought that was cool because I visited Ireland back in 2000. 16, I want to say. And when I went there was so much history. There was so much history that I didn't know that they don't even teach us in school. They have their own set of history. And it was interesting to see that integrated with some of the news from a century ago. But now I want to pull us back to the present and just mention one thing from the news in the present, and that is sadly that Betty White is no longer with us on this particular plane of existence. She died at 99, just a couple weeks before her 100th birthday. Now, in her memory, everybody wants to do something nice, and so it seems that social media is rallying together for the Betty White Challenge. So I'm putting it out there on here. If you want to do the Betty White Challenge, it is on Monday, the 17th. Everyone go donate $5 to your local animal shelter. She was a huge animal lover, and she would love everybody doing this. If you think about the millions of people in America, if they even just donated $1, that would be a huge amount of money. But we're saying $5, if you can spare it, to a local animal shelter in Betty White's name. That is the Betty White Challenge. So I hope you all enjoyed today's episode regarding what I don't know about sleep and a little bit of the news. And we'll be back next week with more information. Some of it I know a little bit about and some of it I know nothing about, but it's always fun to talk about. So if you want to support the show, click the link on the website or Cash App Katrina Dragon. That's KatrinaDragon. And as always, I really do appreciate each and every one of you simply for existing.